Here we go. I was muted. So, welcome to our live stream. We're going to get going here in a minute and talk about our topic today, dead or not dead. Hope you understand in my world and the world of many others who are exploring this journey of interdimensional relationships. We don't like to use the word dead, but I understand that if I don't say that, a lot of people will not know what I'm talking about. So we're going to talk about death, even though death is an illusion. That's the main takeaway I hope you leave with today. But I want to start with um, actually the some statistics, okay? Because that's what a lot of people are looking for, even though you can't prove that there's life after death. We can look at evidence of the afterlife in the form of what people are experiencing. Okay, so you may already be aware that there are many people who are reporting near-death experiences. So I don't know if you know that the estimates are roughly 4% to 18% of people have had a near-death experience. Now, if you're new to that term, you might be wondering what the heck is that? An NDE is when someone has come close to death. Obviously, they didn't die because they came back, but they were either on the brink of death or clinically might even have been pronounced to be dead, and they came back after minutes. In some cases, like extraordinary amount of time passed and the person came back. And when they came back, they reported experiencing different things. Some of them saw, of course, a light, the light at the end of the tunnel. That's a well-known phenomenon many people report. But a lot of people don't even report seeing a light. They just report seeing beings, like maybe Jesus, maybe an angel, maybe loved ones, maybe all of the above. And they return after having this near-death experience changed. Many of them feel changed. Many of them realize that they now have certain abilities they didn't have before. Maybe their intuition is strong now, or they have healing abilities. There's all kinds of changes that people who've had these experiences report. So at this point, it's almost a question of, I kind of joke about it, like who hasn't had an NDE? Because every day you hear people coming forward saying they've had an NDE. And the reason why the reports of these incidences are on the upswing is because in the science community, in hospitals or technology is able to bring back people from death in ways that weren't possible maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, certainly like 30, 40 years ago, right? Because of the developments in science. So that's why we're seeing so many more people saying that they've had these experiences. And by now, I think more people understand that there's something going on. This is not hallucination. This is not made up. People come back changed. You don't get dramatically changed from a hallucination. So this begs the question, what really does happen when we fully cross over, when we actually do drop the body and we go to the other side, right? Now, I'm here to suggest this whole channel is about trying to help people understand that it's more than likely you already are in contact with loved ones who are on the other side, that there's large numbers of people, more people than have had near-death experiences, actually have experienced what we call after-death communication, or ADC. Right? And there has been some research, not extensive, but some research. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. I went looking it up the other day and found these little bits of insight and information for you. In 1971, William Dewey Rees did a study of 293 widows and widowers and found that almost half of them, I think it was 47 point something percent, reported an experience of their deceased spouse, right? And I think it's important to note, and I'm just sharing my experiences with talking to people People have approached me because I've shared my story of connecting with my husband through the veil, and they've told me they had these experiences even when they didn't believe. We're talking about people who are maybe agnostic or atheist or even very spiritual, but didn't believe in the afterlife. So it would appear that your belief in whether the afterlife is real or not has nothing to do with this at all, because otherwise we would expect that the people who had these experiences firmly believed in an afterlife or firmly were open to the idea. But in many cases, it's not happening that way. So there are people from all across the board, different ethnicities, economic background, education background. It has no relevance, right? That's one study. But I want you to note that a significant number of these individuals in this study had said that they had not shared their experiences with anybody until this survey was done. So this would suggest there's a large number of people not reporting phenomenon. I think we would, hazard to guess, yeah, that's likely because why? Because most people are afraid of being judged. They don't want to tell everybody, "Oh yeah, I saw my dead husband sitting on the edge of my bed. He gave me a hug. He told me he loved me." Who's going to tell that to anybody unless they think they're going to be believed? And most people are not surrounded by friends or family, loved ones who accept this. If they did, it might be a different story. That was the same thing that was happening with near-death experiencers who also were in that situation, where most of the people around them didn't believe them, thought they were making it up, thought they were hallucinating. We're at that same point with after-death communication. So there is a similarity in my view, between NDE and after death communication, or what I like to call and what I'm calling love after death experiences, where you experience the not just the messages of a loved one, their presence, even feeling their love. That's why I call it love after death. You actually have a contact and some sort of communication is possible. Not in all cases. Sometimes people just have a visual, have a experience of some kind, sense of presence. Maybe they feel a touch. There's all kinds of experiences that people have reported. Right. There's another research here by the Pew Research Center. It was a study they did conducted in just recently, like last year, and they found that 53% of US adults report having been visited by a deceased family member in some sort of a dream or some other form. But it's more than that, right? There's more than that. There is also reports of in these same people that in that the past year alone, last year, that 34% of them felt the presence of the dead relative. 28% of them conversed with a deceased loved one relative. And 15% reported receiving direct communication from a deceased family member. Okay, so there's all matter of communication going on, all kinds of contact going on, but people are not reporting it, right? I'm going to predict in year time, at, at, at maybe two at the most, I think you're going to hear more people coming forward saying, yes, I've had communication with my loved one, with my relative. And while they're not necessarily going to be able to prove it because this is all like anecdotal, but let's remember near-death experiences are also anecdotal. Yes, there can be people in the operating room when that person seemed to have flatlined, but they can't verify that the person went to the light, saw Jesus, felt this love come through them, had this awakening. They can't prove that. Only the person having the experience can confirm that. And I don't think we should really worry about that, although that'd be great to have research in this area of after death communication. And I'm talking about direct after death. I'm not talking about going to a medium and having the medium be the translator, pass through messages. That is very healing. I think that's a good first step for most people. It doesn't have to be, but it's certainly something that a lot of people do, decide to do, and that's great. It can be, again, the first step in getting that confirmation, the assurance that, "Oh, yeah, my loved one has survived death. I'm receiving confirmation. I'm getting that information," right? But that alone isn't going to heal grief. It doesn't. I know because I've talked to so many people who have had many readings and they're still in deep grief. I would suggest to you that the only way to really heal grief is to actually forge a new relationship, to actually have that direct communication, that contact. Otherwise, the only other alternative is just to accept that they're gone, or at least that you cannot connect yourself, and therefore that while they may still indeed exist in the non-physical world, that you will not have access to them. It's either that or the other, right? You're either going to have no access, or worse yet, some people just believe they are dead and they're never going to see them again. That's even worse, in my opinion. Or you believe that you can communicate, and even more than that, you could actually interact on an ongoing basis, on a regular daily basis. This is what I'm experiencing, and I know other people that are experiencing it too, and others who are learning to do this. Okay, so I have always believed that if just one person can do something, that means others can also do it. That's all you need. You just need one person who has manifested something, who's achieved something, and now it becomes accessible to all. Will it become accessible to everyone all at once? No. It takes time, and people have to, in this case, have to believe and trust they can do this, that they can actually connect with someone they love that's on the other side. But it's certainly doable because, again, if one person, two persons, three, four, whoever are doing this, others can do the same. And that, I think, is happening. At least I see that in our Soulmates in the Afterlife group, that that is for partners and spouses. And I also see that in the academy program, that where we teach people how to reach through the veil and develop that connection, because it does take time. It does take support. I personally don't think it's possible really to do this by yourself. I mean, anything's possible, I suppose, but it's really hard. It was hard for me, and I've had a lot of experience in afterlife communication, but I too had to work through my own doubts and my own limiting beliefs and come out the other side of it. So that's just based on my opinion. I could be wrong, could be totally wrong. Maybe everybody will start doing this, and that'd be great. I would love that. That'd be a world I would certainly want to live in and want to see people having these relationships and knowing that their loved one is not only not gone, they're right here, and they want to converse with us, they want to guide us, they want to support us, most of all, they want to love us. All right, so let's look at another survey, all right? Here is in an analysis of 35 research studies involving over 50,000 people by the University of North Texas. They concluded that one-third of those people, one-third of that 50,000, have experienced some form of ADC, or after-death communication. One-third, right? That's huge to me, that many people would say I've had after-death communication. We're talking about ADC, we're talking about a number of things. We're talking about signs, like finding feathers, coins. I mean, I have a friend, one of my good friends, she's constantly finding pennies in her home that she knows are from her daughter, who passed away at a very young age after being, basically debilitated. She was born with the physical defect, and she was had to exist in a hospital bed for about 7 years. She couldn't talk. She was always on a breathing apparatus. her mother learned to talk to her telepathically. She learned to connect to her daughter through her soul. And once the daughter transitioned, the daughter made sure to let the family know that she was with them. And they feel her presence. They get signs from her when they go out on a family, holiday or some trip to the beach. They get all kinds of signs, phenomenal things like butterflies coming in front of their faces. And most of all, the daughter leaves pennies in the home in very strange places, like in a little nook and cranny under the sofa or in a wall or under the carpet. Like there shouldn't be any pennies in their house. And she has a jar full of pennies. And she's not the only one. I've heard a lot of people share similar stories about finding feathers or coins and all manner of things. Sometimes people are receiving messages, like literally messages that they write down or they take note of or they listen. There are so many different ways that the other side communicates to us, but what I've learned most of all is they like to communicate through emotion, through letting us feel their love, and that's a little difficult if you're really in the deep throes of grieving, but they do their best, and if we can just ease up on the grieving a little bit, we can start feeling it. But I would suggest to you, if you're wanting that direct communication, that you first start believing in that that's possible for you, because that's really the most critical part. And that you start to understand that they are already communicating with you in some form. Again, it could be emotional. It could be that butterfly that keeps landing on your windscreen of your car. I had when Alan passed and I went out for a meal with a friend for the first time. This was during COVID, so we couldn't really go out very easily. And a bird came right on the car windshield. This cardinal came right up to the windshield and basically looked at me. And I remember knowing that that was Alan, and I said to him, "Keep the bird right there. I want to take its picture." And did. It just stood there right on the car windscreen looking at me, and I was able to take its picture. And then after that, it flew away, and I knew that that was Alan. I'd never had a bird land on the car windshield in my life, let alone stay there for about 5 minutes just looking at me. Okay, those kinds of things happen to people all the time. That's a very common form of after death communication. Birds, butterflies, dragonflies, uh, cloud formations, okay? Whatever it is that you experience, embrace that. I always suggest to our students and clients to claim that, claim that sign. If you want more, the worst thing you can do is to discount it, is to say, "Oh, that's just a coincidence." There are no coincidences, folks. The other side is quite active. If you only knew how many times they are putting thoughts and ideas into our minds, okay, just to guide us, to help us, to support us. And you and I think that we're so smart. We're not that smart, not to get these insights out of the blue, a suggestion out of the blue. Your brain doesn't really work that way. A lot of people's minds, a lot of people's brains are just negatively programmed. Most often, if you're getting a real positive message, that's probably not coming from your physical mind, which is programmed for survival and quite often is thinking rather, negatively, fearfully, right? So it's important to believe, believe and have faith that they are with you, that you can communicate. Because if you do that, you are on your way to manifesting contact. Whereas if you doubt it, if you think, "Oh, this happens to everybody else but me, it's too hard for me," or if you doubt your loved one cares about you anymore, that's even worse because you're basically throwing up a wall. Your doubt that they love you, okay, you get to manifest experiencing more doubt that they don't love you. If that's what you believe. If you believe they do love you, you're going to experience more of their love because you believe that they do love you. And I promise you, They do love you. And I was talking about this with Alan, and yes, he's on the other side, but we have conversations all the time. And I said, "Why is it that I do love you? Why do I love you? And why do you love me? If you really think about it, why do we love anybody? It's we don't love people because of certain factors. We don't love somebody because they're a certain height, a certain weight, they look I mean, if they are pleasant to look at, granted, we probably wanna go for that, but a lot of people, not everybody is good looking in terms of Hollywood, right? Like, certainly, and there's somebody for everybody, and it's not about looks, it's not necessarily about any other qualities, like, certainly I appreciate a good sense of humor. Ellen was really funny, but then so am I. I mean, we were similar in a lot of ways, different yet similar in a lot of ways. You love somebody just because you love them. You love them in spite of whatever limiting characteristics they may have. That's just isn't that true? I don't love you because you're perfect. I love you in spite of the fact that you're not perfect. We love who we love because they are connected to us on a soul level. And so it would actually be really difficult for us to not love them because we would be acting against our true nature, which is to love those that we have this soul bond with. And you do, if that person is your partner, your spouse, that person, you have this love connection that cannot ever be destroyed. So to me, when I hear clients say to me, I'm afraid that, he doesn't love me or she doesn't love me, that they're on the other side and now they can have access to anybody. And I go, really? You think that's how it is in the spirit world? That they're just interested in speed dating or something? That's crazy. It's not about that. You cross over to the non-physical, you're already complete. You are love, you're the essence of love. You're going to be connecting with the people that you already have that soul love with. And so of course they don't stop loving us. And Alan says it's like that would be as they would have to cease to exist to do that. He says, as long as I exist, I will always love you. The same is true for your loved ones, whether that's a family member, partner, spouse, it doesn't matter. Okay. They cannot not love. It's your reason for existence is to love. So you're going to love someone and you're going to love those that you already have this soul connection with. And this is why that you can stay in touch. And this is why I want to really emphasize that the dead aren't dead because consciousness cannot be destroyed. The body, obviously, it can be destroyed. Everything in the physical world can be destroyed, will be eventually crumbled to dust because this world is a temporary world of illusion that's created through our collective thoughts. It's not meant to exist forever. The only world that is eternal is the spirit world that we all originate from, that we all will return to. That's the only world that is indestructible. And that world is created from love. So if you and I are created from love, how can our loved ones ever not love us? That is impossible. So if you're holding even one iota of doubt, like whether your loved one still loves you, could you please like kick that to the curb like forever? Not possible. Not possible. All right. So I suggest that you reach for your own evidence of the afterlife. It doesn't matter how long they've been gone. It doesn't matter if it was 2 days, 2 years, 10 years. It doesn't matter. You can still connect. I have talked to and worked with people who hadn't had contact for a long time, and they start getting contact, they start getting signs, and it's there for you, but you've got to work through your limiting beliefs. That's the only obstacle. It's not them. Yes, they still have to learn how to connect. And yes, they still would need to agree to participate. I would say Alan's showing me 95% of the time they will. The only time they might not is if that wasn't your sole agreement. And if it's not your sole agreement, don't worry. That means you're still here to have a wonderful experience. They might be bringing you a new partner, or maybe that's just not going to be part of your life from this time forward. But most of you, especially if you're those of you watching, the many of you watching are in my soulmates in the Afterlife Facebook group, you're there because there is the possibility, the potential to connect. Now it's up to you because you this is not an easy thing. I can't just like hand the keys over to you and say, here you go. Like go for the ride. Go for the, to heaven and have this connection with your loved one. There's things that you're going to have to let go of. There's limiting beliefs, there's fear, there's trauma. That's why we work with people in our academy to work on that. But yeah, you could do this on your own, especially if you don't have a lot of trauma, a lot of limiting beliefs, and you can process that yourself. I would never say it's impossible. I just, in my observation, working with people for 37 years, I think it's really difficult because we've been just brainwashed in with negative beliefs. So, all right, I see Betsy here asks, how do we know it's not in our soul agreement? If you feel really interested in this, if you feel really drawn to this, I would say at the very least, you're here to explore that connection. And only that's going to answer your question, only going forward. And it could never be a negative thing to explore reaching through the veil, to explore raising your vibration, to explore trusting your higher self is guiding you, that your loved one is there for you. Okay, that's only going to help you grow spiritually. And that's actually the purpose of existence. All of us share that purpose, is to spiritually grow, to awaken our consciousness, to become a conscious being. What does that mean? What does it mean to be conscious? It means that you understand that you're not just a physical body, that you're not your personality ego. And you might think, well, that's a small thing. Uh. That's a huge thing. Most of the people on this planet don't understand that. Most of the people in the world believe they're just a physical body, that they're just their personality ego. They don't even fathom the idea that they're an eternal spirit. And it doesn't matter their religious background. I'm just saying, most people don't understand the true nature of existence. If you don't understand that you're a consciousness that cannot be destroyed, then of course you're going to believe that if your loved one died, that that's it, because they're to that person, they believe their loved one is just their body. And communicating with their spirit would not be enough for them. And I want you to really think about that. If and I can't prove that your loved one's there with you, just can't, you can get the evidence yourself, but let's say that you did get that evidence. Let's say that you did have a profound experience of them or even saw them, because that can happen. That has happened to people. They actually see their loved one or feel them in some very visceral way, tangible way. But let's say you have all that. You have to ask yourself, is that going to be enough for me, that I can have this communication? Because I have taught people how to have that communication. You can have it, to have that communication, have that contact, know that they're there, but they're not in a body. Is that going to be enough for you? Only you can answer that question. And the only way that's probably going to be enough for you is if you go on this journey of realizing and then experiencing that you're not just your physical body, your human self, that you're a higher mind, a higher self, that you're a spirit. You're going to need to rather go through a transformation. I'll just put it that way. Your loved one, when they died, they went through a transformation simply because they dropped their ego. So you go through a transformation when you don't no longer carrying that ego that is programmed to fear, programmed from survival, has certainly belief structures that are limiting. And that is the lens through which they're experiencing the physical world. And you and I are doing that right now. We have our own personality, our own ego, and that's just the role we're playing in this life. So if you want to have this relationship through the veil, in a way, to some degree, you're gonna have to drop some of that. And the camera just pulled out. My husband likes to do that to emphasize the point I'm making, to make the camera, like, pull out and say, "That's right." That's happened periodically when I've done these classes. So, you have to go through a transformation because they did. You've got to match their vibration a bit, not 100% because you can't, because 'cause you're in a body and you have an ego, you can't get rid of the ego, that's just how it is. But you can lighten up, right? You can let go of your fear, your trauma, your limiting beliefs, and therefore inch a little closer to the threshold between this dimension and the other side, because they're in a literal another dimension. And so it doesn't take that much to get close enough to have that interaction, to hear them clearly, eventually know that that's them, that's not you thinking those thoughts, because I promise you, your physical mind doesn't do that, especially when the thoughts are loving and positive. Most of you, if you have an inner dialogue, it's more negative. It's more like, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm not worthy. I'm stupid," or whatever. It's all fear-based, right? It's not usually your a lot of people inner dialogue is not positive. So, when you hear something that is positive, that is inspiring, you pretty much know that's not coming from your physical mind that's pretty much been programmed with a lot of negativity. That's coming from either your higher mind or from a loved one in the spirit. Okay. So, and I'm just looking at some of your comments here because I actually do want to answer some questions. Okay. So Roberta has said, or asked, what if we left on bad circumstances here and I've never let go, even after his passing? Can we still be reunited? Want it? It doesn't matter what the circumstances of their passing was. As I've just said a bit ago, there's only love. And it doesn't matter what transpired, like, if you got upset at them, they got upset at you, you hurt them, they hurt you, none of that matters. When we all return to the other side and reunite completely, we realize that all of that drama, all of that fuss was just it's just a movie that we're playing out in called life. And we realize that that's not the reality. The reality is that we love each other. So it doesn't matter the circumstances of their passing. It may in maybe in some of your cases haunt you a little bit, you feel bad about it, but they see the bigger picture, they know why we treated them the way we did or why we let them down if we let them down, whatever. They understand it, they see why, and when they see why, it's easy for them to forgive. They go, "Well, she didn't or he didn't mean to hurt me or let me down. They did this because they were not in a good place, or they were in fear, or they were angry, or they were just shut down emotionally," whatever the case may be. So they see the broader picture and they always forgive. Maybe not immediately when they cross over, but but eventually because they see the bigger picture, they go, "All right, I get it. I get it." And then most importantly, they see where they may have let us down and they have a great deal of remorse. So all things are made right when you return to the other side, but I would recommend that you make things right before you go home, that you forgive them if you feel they let you down. Forgive them now so that you are free of that, because unforgiveness is like a weight on the heart. Anger, resentment, unforgiveness is going to weigh you down, make it harder for you to connect to the other side if you want to reunite with your loved one. And it's certainly going to make this life harder, because every negative thought you have, especially when it's a thought of self condemnation, and by the way, when you condemn somebody else, you're actually condemning yourself as well, because we're all one. So when you hate others, I'm not saying any of you do, but if somebody hated other people, they're actually only hating and poisoning themselves, because you cannot send out emotion to somebody, like in this case, hate, without you drinking from the same cup, because they're you and you are them. So when you love others and forgive others, you're loving and forgiving yourself. You cannot leave yourself out of the equation ever. And this is why it never feels good to judge somebody, even when you are completely in the right and they were in the wrong, like they committed some error, some grievous act. Even if they were wrong, you will never feel good judging them, because you are judging yourself as well. You're directing that judgment, that self-criticism, anger to them, and it comes right back at you. You always get back what you give out. So we forgive for our sake. And the other person needs to forgive themselves for their sake too. It's not going to be enough if we forgive them if they haven't forgiven themselves. In fact, it will matter very little if they are still holding a lot of self-judgment toward themselves, which quite often people do, of course. But you want to forgive to set yourself free. And you certainly want to do that if you want to connect to someone on the other side. So let's do something real quick here. I wanted to make this live a bit more of an experience for you, because I'm going to do something that we do quite often in our academy. We pass a lot of energy attunements. We have some of them on our YouTube channel, but also guide people to connect. I like to work with the group energy. That's why I like to go live. And even if you're watching this later, whether you are watching this later tomorrow or next week or in 5 years from now, the group energy is still going to be here, because everything is happening now. When you watch this later, it's happening now. Everything's now. So let's do this. Let's If you're wanting it, if you're wanting the experience, I'd like you to close your eyes. And if there's someone in the spirit world that you would like to connect with, I'd like you to just see them in your mind, or just say their name to yourself silently, but hold them in your mind. See them in your mind, say their name, one or both. It doesn't matter. One or the other, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you can't see them clearly in your mind's eye. It doesn't matter. It can be very abstract. Okay, just your intention alone. I want to connect with my loved one. Okay, just hold that now. And now take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, just release any stress, any worry, any energies that don't belong to you. Let them all go. Take another breath in. And on the release through your nose, again, let go of anything that doesn't serve you, limiting beliefs, energies, thoughts. Let go of any worries or cares. Just feel them wash away. Right. And now I'd like you to imagine, see, or feel this golden light above your head pouring down over you. Feel that light pouring down over your head like honey, like golden liquid honey. Feel that light pouring down over you. It's going into your body, flushing out any energies, again, that no longer serve you, do not belong to you. Feel this energy just pouring down you like this liquid golden honey, healing you, clearing you of energies that you no longer need. Feel that go down through your head, down your neck, down through your chest, down your arms, out your hands. Feel that energy fountaining out of your hands. So that energy is filling your auric field, just a space around you. Feel that energy going into your chest, on your heart, down to your stomach, down to your thighs, down your legs, down to your feet, and out your feet. And feel that energy going down through the soles of your feet, down to the center of the earth, anchoring you to Mother Earth. And now take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, let go of any energies, once again, that don't belong to you. Let them go. Send it down to Mother Earth, and she will take that for her own healing. And just breathe comfortably, naturally, just breathing in, breathing out. And with every breath, you're getting more and more relaxed. And now I would like you to affirm silently to yourself, I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. I am one with all that is. And let your body absorb that truth. I am one with all that is. And now, using the power of your intention, just open your awareness. Activate your non-physical energy body. Everyone has one. You don't have to believe in it or not. You don't have to know what it looks like or not. It's non-physical anyway. So just activate your non-physical body, expand your senses. And these are not just physical senses, but your psychic senses, your ability to hear the other side, your ability to communicate with the other side through not only thought, but through sensations, through direct knowing. Expand your awareness. You can do this because in truth you are a spirit you've simply forgotten. So when you turn your attention inward, you're opening to the door to the other side. So in this state of expanded awareness, invite your loved one in. You already thought of them, imagine them. Now invite them to come closer. Invite them to connect with you in whatever way they choose. The communication may come in the form of a sign, a symbol, a visual. Maybe they show you a memory. Maybe you feel heat or coolness, tingles. Maybe you smell something. Maybe you taste something. Maybe you just know something. And even if you don't think you're experiencing any after death communication, I want you to just imagine you are. Imagination is not make believe. Imagination is what we use to bridge the physical and the non physical world. It's the doorway to create. what we seek to experience. You can't experience something if you can't imagine it. If you can't imagine what it looks like or what it might feel like. If you can imagine something, it exists. Because you cannot imagine non-existence. That would be impossible. You can only imagine what actually exists. So now imagine that contact or communication. It's like you're fanning the flame of the creation of that contact by your imagining it. And just be with that for a minute. What I have found is that spirit communication is often very subtle and is quite often comes through feeling, emotion. So when you start slowing down a bit, because we live in such a fast-paced world where everybody's rushing around and you're so distracted. When you slow down and you focus inward, even for a little bit, you start realizing there's a whole world going on internally. And again, this is not in your head. You're connecting to the spirit world that you right now are connected to because you've never left the spirit world. The greater part of you is always there. You've simply expressed a portion of yourself into this particular body in this particular life. But you are living other lifetimes simultaneously, and you were on the other side. So just feel into that connection. Imagine it into being. This is not a passive journey at all. Yes, it's an internal journey because obviously the relationship is not happening in literal 3D terms, although you can certainly feel physical, three-dimensional experiences with them. But for many of us, we start seeing them in our mind's eye, even if it's just a flash of something, and then we don't believe it. But I want you to start believing it, okay? That's important. And if you want communication, you gotta pay attention. I promise you, it's already always been happening. You just were not paying attention because you probably didn't believe and you shrugged it off. So from this point on, if you want that contact, you gotta start believing and go all in, and then start noticing. And when even a glimmer of contact happens, claim that. And that's how you fan that flickering flame into a roaring fire that leads you to experience direct contact and communication through the veil. It's not going to happen immediately. You can't go from 0 to 100. You're going to go incrementally. But they will certainly put images in your mind's eye, flashes of things, sensations of things. Start noticing. You want contact? Pay attention. That's number 1. Well, maybe not number 1, that's number 2. I think number 1 is actually believe. You gotta believe. If you don't believe, ain't nothing gonna happen. If you believe, now at least you're out the gate. But the next thing is, you want that contact, then you gotta pay attention. You gotta know the physics of spirit communication because there is physics to it. There's a physics to existence. Existence is created from thoughts, so our beliefs or thoughts are creating our reality. You've heard that saying before, but you probably don't completely grasp it. So I'm gonna put Danny's comment up here. Danny says, "Oh goodness, I cry every time we do these connection exercises. He's always right. They're waiting for me." Absolutely. Now, in Danny's case, of course, Danny, you're in our Supernatural Love Academy, so you kind of got a head start on some people because you practice this. And you probably watch, I know you watch a lot of our videos, not just on YouTube, but in our academy. I think I have like over, God, at this point, I don't know, 250, 200 videos in our academy, something crazy like that. So this is what I want to leave you with. I can't absolutely prove to you that the dead aren't dead. All I can do is share my story and tell you about other people's stories. And maybe I'll get some of them to come on here, right, on YouTube with me and tell you their story. And I've heard countless people's stories. We have like over 200 people in our academy. And and people are having contact and communication through the veil. So if you're not there yet, or you're still trying to figure out if that's something you even want to do, just know that this is a real thing. This is a real thing. If it was possible for people to just hallucinate all of this, okay, just make it all up, don't you think everybody be doing it, given the numbers of people who are grieving and number of people who really miss their loved one? Don't you think everybody would be hallucinating direct communication? I mean, that would be beautiful if it was that simple to me, because it would heal grief. I don't think anybody out there would argue that it would be better for somebody to believe they have this contact with their loved one if they can go forward with their life and function and be well and healthy and happy. But most of society is going to say you're crazy. But I know I'm not crazy. And I know many people that see spirits and they're not crazy, but they have to kind of fudge a little bit if they go to the doctor and getting some sort of evaluation and they're asked, do you hear voices that aren't people that aren't there? And I have one of my friends who's very clairvoyant. She had to lie on her evaluation because she sees spirit, she hears spirit. She had to say, no, 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 I don't see any of this. But she does. And she's completely grounded and down to earth and normal. Right? So you have to believe, you have to give it a chance. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. Maybe that's not your journey. Maybe that's not for you. That's all right. You will see when you cross over the truth of the afterlife, but you are never alone in your space. Nobody dies, they just drop their body. They are just one thought away, literally. Sometimes they're more like inner space than others, okay? Because they don't want to be always intrusive. When you need them, they're there. And you can communicate, you can continue a relationship if that is what you want to do and you're not sure, especially if it's a partner or spouse, you're not sure, like, would they want this? I'd say, well, just go explore it, because you'd find out soon enough. You'll find out for sure. And if you are, and when I say meant, okay, I don't mean like, I was gonna say if you're meant to meet somebody else, that would mean that you planned that before you came into this life, that you planned to have another partner after your loved one passed, okay? Or at the very least, you could decide now to do that, and if that's what you decide to do, that's fine. There's no one way to do this. Like, grief is grief, and if you want to pursue the connection and see where that goes, if if only to develop yourself spiritually, I think that's an incredible goal. That's, you're going to grow. You're going to evolve. You're going to understand who you really are as a soul. That's what you came here to do. And our loved ones, in my opinion, from what Stuart's told me, they want that for us. They want us to know the truth of who we are, to be fully who we are without our limiting beliefs about our programming, about our self-judgment, and for people, some people, maybe even their self-hatred. They wanna let us to let that all go so that we can be happy while we're still in a body. Because I promise you, they cross over, they go, "Oh, I wish I'd worked on myself when I was in a body. I wish I'd gotten over my anger or my fear or my jealousy," or whatever the issue was that they never confronted. They regret that, and quite often, they may come back for another life to heal that. You and I have the opportunity to work on that right now, and they can help us with their love, with their support. Alan has said to me that we don't understand that we're the ones that can have it all, you and me in a body. Because to be an awakened soul, and I don't mean enlightened, okay, that's a different thing. But to be awakened, meaning that you know that you're a spirit, that you're a soul, that you're not this physical person. To be an awakened person and to have this connection through the veil, and therefore to experience a bit of the other side through our loved one, is the ultimate. They wish they could have a body and experience physical reality. They do miss it. Many mediums will tell you that. Alan has said that. But through us, they get to experience this world. They get to merge with us, blend with us, and eat what we eat, drink what we drink, laugh at the movies we laugh at. Yeah, they're right there with the etheric popcorn, watching Netflix with us. Alan does that with me, and I have to tell him, "Don't tell me the ending of the movie." Like, no spoilers, because he's done that before. They're right here. But you don't have to trust me. You don't have to believe me. Just reach out with your belief, open up, trust, experience, pay attention, look for signs. If you're in deep grief, it might take a while because your grief kind of puts up like a wall, or at least it creates a lot of distortion. So it's hard for them to get through if there's a lot of grief. So do your best to process it. Do not repress your grief. Go into it, process it. Process just means feeling it. So I'm just looking at your comments here. So Jeannie and Mike, oop, Roberta said, wow. Okay. Yeah, and please watch our videos if you want more contact. Watch the videos. They will help you refine your connection. It'll help you open up your own consciousness, your own awareness. Because when you do, your loved one comes through to help you. You are because your intention, right, is to reach out. That intention is huge. They're going to meet you halfway the best they can. Our job is to be positive and have faith, okay? And yes, there are times when you're going to doubt. I get it. It's okay. But if you're more or less on on a positive note, right, living your life and doing your best to, not expect it to always be, but you're doing your best to, that's going to help you connect. Okay. Oh, you're so welcome, Roberta. You're all welcome. So watch this one again. Watch the other videos on this channel. It will build your connection incrementally because we come here to talk to you with that focus and intention. And if you can help us get the word out that they're not dead, that you can connect through the veil, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. because the more people who subscribe, the more people will see our channel because we're here to just help as many people as we can to understand that grief is optional. You know, you don't have to grieve forever. You can find joy. They want that for us. I don't know what grief feels like anymore. I really don't. Honestly, I don't know what it feels like. So Michelle asked where do you find your videos? Well, on our channel, our YouTube channel, there's all our videos there, but we are have a lot more content in our academy. That's our paid program. So that would be the place you have to go for that. All right. So let's just close a bit here with connecting with them again. All right. I just want you to, this is what I'm getting guided to do. I want you to take a breath in because through our talking about this, and even you sharing in the live chat, even though that's not going to be visible here in the comment section, we've built energy, we put energy into this connection. So let's ride the wave of that. So I want you to feel into that. That connection is deeper now, just for us having this time together. Every moment, every minute, every second of every day, you are changing, you're evolving. That is what creation does, and you are part of creation. You are creation itself. So you're changing. You're now in a new place. And in another second, here, you're in a new place again. Everything can change. Everything does change. If you haven't had contact before, you can have it in the next instant. Okay. So don't give up. That's the only way we fail at anything is if we give up. So if you want contact through the veil, you want communication, just don't give up. Imagine it into being. And in time, you'll get evidence, such clear evidence that it will change your life. See you next time. Bye-bye.